From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for Wednesday, November 12th. In today's show, we are looking at the Northern Lights. A lot of photos came in to our website, and we'll take a look at some of those photos. Also, I'll talk about the second half of the month of November, as it looks like that can become active. I know Brian's been busy counting the number of low-pressure systems that will try to make their way across the central and northern plains as we do go over the next 2 weeks. These temperatures are staying warm, and it looks like as we get into Friday, may end up being the warmest day out of the next 7. That's how it is shaping up in our 7-day forecast. We are looking at numbers that may actually hit 70 degrees for Sioux Falls. Right now, we have 67 in our forecast on Friday. For Sioux Falls, we can get close to 70. We'll see what happens as we go through the day. But the winds will probably pick up during that day, too, to help mix up the atmosphere and bring in this warm weather. Futurecast for today showing mostly sunny to partly cloudy conditions. As we get into tomorrow's, I would say the same thing. Mostly sunny, partly cloudy. Temperatures will be a little warmer. I mentioned the winds do pick up on Friday, and Friday's probably the next day where we have, some of these relatively stronger winds. We'll have light winds for today, light winds for tomorrow, becoming south-southwest for Friday. That will help bring in that warmer air. And then for this coming weekend, it'll change a little to a northerly direction, slightly cooler as we get into the first half of the weekend, extending even into Sunday as the clouds will also start to thicken. Forecast for today, we'll have temperatures in the 50s and 60s, 60s in western and south-central South Dakota. Temperatures for tonight with a partly cloudy sky will eventually fall to the low to middle 30s. Middle 30s tonight in central South Dakota, near 30 in eastern KELOLAND, a little warmer across the west. Rapid City may only fall to 40 degrees. Coming up after the break, we'll talk to meteorologist Brian Karstens about these northern lights from last night and even into early this morning. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I am joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens now. And Brian, quite a morning we had. Looking at some pictures that were sent to us and our live cams.
Yeah, and we made the comment on the air that not very often do you see northern lights on the live cams. And most of the time it's something we see in the evening, and then by the time the morning show starts, it's kind of dwindling, or it seems like that's what has been the case a lot of times. But we went on the air at 4:30, and it was spectacular. And a lot of viewer pictures. Please, we love these. These are great. I think we've counted, I've heard in the news department over 1,000 pictures. I don't know exactly what the count is, but it's a lot.
Yeah, and they continue to come in, too. So these are just an example of this. And this is off our website, KELOLAND.com. Zoomed in a little bit, but this is the Northern Lights dance across KELOLAND. So you can go ahead and get in here and see these photos that were sent to us. So a lot of interesting photos, reds, green colors showing up. You saw them last night or this morning, didn't you?
I did.
You did.
And that just sparked my memory just a little bit here, too, because I was pulling up a few things that I was building here on the side over here. But, the fact of the matter is, I think everybody that was out last evening probably has a picture or two. Mm-hmm. Mine aren't super dramatic, but they're fun. And as we bring up this conversation, I know that the monitor over there has the actual NASA video of this, solar flare. It's actually a geomagnetic storm as this particular storm erupted yesterday and traveled into space between here and the sun, and when it interacted with the upper atmosphere, a Lots of color. By the way, people wonder why we get the green colors versus the red colors. And I was a little curious about that. And it turns out it's the way that the charged particles are interacting with oxygen at different levels of the atmosphere. So we're looking up in the stratosphere and beyond, but the higher interactions are actually the red colors. And I think you actually brought this up, kind of interesting too, to talk about the science behind it.
Right. You mentioned that the oxygen and the nitrogen that is in the atmosphere, as these charged particles do come in, it's the way that they interact with those the oxygen molecules and the nitrogen, and they emit different colors of light, as you can see here. The oxygen, that's the reason why you get your red and your green, which was dominant on a lot of these photos that came in. The nitrogen, of course, the pink and the blue light. So very, very interesting. And then you sometimes notice, kind of the wavy pattern that we have with these northern lights. And a lot of it depends on your position of the Earth. And, of course, how these charged particles do come in and they interact with the Earth, which I think there are a couple other graphics for that too. Just running through this to better explain this. You mentioned those solar flares that we get. That's like that extra charged particles that come out of the sun. And those are the reasons why that we are able to see these northern lights as those solar flares erupt off of the sun.
Yes, and it's amazing too how it just interacts with the Earth's magnetic shield, and just a little friendly reminder of why it's so nice to have the magnetic shield of the Earth to protect us from all of this. And, I know that there are some downsides. Any farmer using GPS, I imagine there are stories of that being affected with harvest last night. There's still some combines out. Running around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fun. I was mentioning, too, that on my schoolwork agenda for my daughter, Lily, I was digging through paperwork. Look what I found. That's
sun.
What we're studying is the sun.
Now, is that the answer key to the homework, or is that the worksheet that she needs to
This is the part where she fills in.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I get it.
I have the answer key. Yeah. Okay. But isn't that fun? The photosphere, the core, the radiative zone, and the sunspots. I had a graphic here. I know I've got a number of things going on my weather machine. Oh, this is one other thing we didn't show. The time lapse.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
We talked about the live cam, able to bring them up on the live cam, and you got into our graphics machine and able to make a time lapse.
Yeah. Now, this is the black and white mode. It's the night vision mode of Terry Peak, but it's still pretty cool, and it does show all the motion there. So neat to see that. Very, very neat. Let's see if I can do this too here while we're on the topics here. Yeah, I've got this right here. Okay, so we talked about solar or sunspots, and let me just bring this up full screen. This is interesting because we are right now right over here. Okay, this is our latest solar cycle. So we actually peaked last year.
So they do count the sunspots.
Yes,
right?
The sunspots are counted. This all started with, well, if you really want to go back all the way to Galileo. But, this is really interesting science because we have sunspot records. This goes back to 1750. Okay. So every solar cycle is documented here, and you can see the ups and downs. And there's actually a lot of correlation with weather patterns, long-term patterns that happen with various inputs on solar cycle activity. So again, we're not done. We're just kind of going down on the averages. But clearly, we showed some strength last night. There's a closer look at 2022, 2024, 2026. So you can see we're peaking here. The forecast see is that we go down to the year 2030. We're going to go down. So here's the bottom line. These big storms, well, they're going to become less numerous in the next few years. So you're going to have to wait for the next big cycle here, Scott.
And when you're talking big storms, you're talking solar storms.
Yeah, these big solar storms. Now, of course, we're talking space weather here, but interesting to see all those peaks. So, the last big peak was back in the, 2010, 2012, kind of in there. And then, of course, you can follow all the rest. But, interesting little pieces of data. By the way, this is tonight's Aurora forecast. If you missed it last night. Here's the belt of wind, or the particles, the charged particles that hit the Earth. So it looks like Canada, good show tonight. We're in the ring.
Okay.
We're not as forecast to be as much, though, and I will caution you about that. But these forecasts can always change a little bit. And again, this is just some background on what you just talked about. But lots of fun science, Scott. This is kind
Pretty
of
cool stuff.
Yeah, I like it. It's, as meteorologists, we kind of dibble-dabble in this stuff, obviously affecting satellites and some of our operational tools, but just a cool sky. And it was clear. Imagine if it had been cloudy last night.
All your friends in other parts are seeing the northern lights, and you check all the social media stuff and people posting it on that. I know friends back in Illinois able to see them, northern Illinois. And how far south did they extend? You mentioned this.
Texas.
I've
seen pictures from Texas, New Mexico. Yeah. Spectacular. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you didn't get a chance to see it, maybe tonight there's a chance some of this kind of lingers. So
some clouds tonight. I think western South Dakota might be clouded over.
Clouds are a little thicker today too. Okay. So, which of course circles us back around to the weather forecast, Scott.
Yes, it does. In fact, let's talk about our chances of seeing an active second half of November. That's coming up after the break. You're watching Weather or Not. Active second half of November. Walked in this morning. You're telling me here comes a low, here comes a low, here comes a low. I'm going to count these, is what you said.
That's right.
And you ended up doing that.
So what I did is I numbered these on the European model. We just took that. The American is fine too. It's got a series of lows as well. So it's not just one thing. But let's kind of walk through this a little bit here because it is a topic of conversation. So the first system is going to come at us here by Monday into Tuesday. This is our forecast for the weekend. You can see the parent low there off the coast of California. Remember, we're not forecasting all of the particulars of this feature of weather yet. What we're doing is we're counting the low pressure centers and the mid-level waves. So that's system number one. That's a Monday night forecast. So, presuming a northerly track, which if you remember on our show yesterday, we talked about Monday getting a little more active, but also remember how the modeling was south. It was Nebraska and even Kansas to some extent. And then today, everything is shifting farther north. So I think we still have a lot of homework yet to do on that, exactly where this system goes, because that plays a big role in what kind of weather we get, Scott. But you know what? We get one, and then here comes the second one, right? Coming around the bend.
1, 2. So the first one around the 17th.
Yep.
Second one, the 19th.
Yep.
That's rather impressive. Again, we're looking at the middle of the atmosphere, too.
Yep, and that's trying to move in. So let's just see what that does.
And I already see a number 3 off the coast.
Yep, so you have something out of Portland, and, a feature like that tries to dig into the desert Southwest. If you know your weather and what rhythms of weather we watch for South Dakota in November, December, when we start talking about Colorado lows, those are always candidates for more interesting weather. This one has the potential to be a candidate for that. This many days out, Scott, I don't really worry about that yet. I don't think anybody needs to bark about this as being a big storm, but, it can give us something to stay tuned for.
Right. I mean, we mentioned an active second half of the month, and this is the reason why we are mentioning that. So number 3 runs through, and number 4 and number 5 decide to show up almost together, one right behind the other one here.
And look at the cold.
Ooh. November 25th, Tuesday, November 25th. So this is Thanksgiving week.
Yeah,
it little is. Pause there, a little dramatic pause.
Well, and here's the thing. If you start pooling some cold air in British Columbia, that's also another one of my checklist formations here on what to watch, because as we turn the calendar over into December, that's a player. Okay. So just remember that. That's something that's on the agenda. It doesn't always mean that that's all breaking loose, because that's where you get tricked. I've seen this many times, and you have as well, where you'll sit and watch that cold air brewing, and then you'll wait and see when that breaks loose. And some of the modeling will get too far ahead of itself sometimes. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you right now, it's brewing. Okay, that's all we're at today.
Something that we can watch is maybe the snowpack that's up there too.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
then any
absolutely.
of that air that moves through over that snowpack, it won't moderate as well.
But look at the depth of the heights. See, now that's what this map is looking at. It's looking at the depth of the atmosphere. And when you see the purple in there, that tells us that the air molecules, the depth of the atmosphere is shrinking because it's getting colder. Cold air, it shrinks, right? That's it's one of those ideal gas law things that we study in meteorology. Oh, my. So now you've got that going on. Now, what can push and prod all this up here, these circulations in the Arctic? Well, varying degrees of blocking patterns will do that. So we look for some of these classic ones that developed during the winter. We're not quite there yet, but we're here to tell you we're watching it. So let's see what happens.
Oh, and that's you went all the way out to November 27th. That's Thanksgiving.
Yep. So just keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it yet. Don't mess around with Thanksgiving plans. We're hosting at our house, so I'm with you there. See, I've got people coming from Iowa. We've got people, relatives out in South Central South Dakota. So I get it. Everybody's wondering about Thanksgiving.
And we got people coming in from Schindler.
Yep.
Okay.
The big metropolis
Thought
of
I'd mention
Schindler.
that.
And even if it's local travel, everybody wants to know Thanksgiving weather. That's just always a given. So we're just here to kind of give you a little heads up that we're watching it pretty carefully.
So what is the precip here on some of these models? We'll run through the European and the American, and this is just the basic precipitation. So, what's rain, what's snow, it's all lumped together here. And over the next 14 days, we'll just have to watch and see where these systems go. Right now, it wants to put a majority of this in our region, I would say over North Dakota, according to this map. But, of course, things can change. We'll continue to follow it. That's the way it looks today on the European. What about the chance to see snow? Again, that first graphic was just a combination. Rain, snow, sleet, maybe freezing rain. This is our snow outlook on the European. And I highlight November 20th. That's when that starts to fill in eastern South Dakota. So that first storm that comes through on the 17th, Brian, it wants to keep it relatively warm. If we get precipitation, trying to throw it in the form of rain, maybe a little colder by the 20th to bring in our snow chances by that time. And as we look at the American model, well, it's a little stronger here with our precipitation, a lot of it trying to fall in western and southwestern South Dakota. Again, this is going over the next 2 weeks. And then it puts a lot of that, the majority of it in our area to our south, into Kansas, maybe southern Nebraska. And things can change. We know things change, north, south, east, west. So we'll continue to follow that. It just gives us an idea that, yes, the models are latching on to that idea of bringing in storm systems that will have some decent amounts of moisture with them. The American model brings in something for snow. We're just looking at snow here, November 17th into western and southwestern South Dakota. And then I highlighted November 25th, that Tuesday that we mentioned right before Thanksgiving, that next system trying to come through. So I would say in general, both the American and the European model, sure, they're saying there will be precipitation in the area. It's just a matter of what's going on with these temperatures. Our ups and downs with these temperatures. And speaking of, I have this here on our monitor showing some of those ups and downs with our temperatures. This week, the rest of the work week, we're going up. And we go down a little for this week. And then look what happens around the 20th. It's in the middle of your screen there. 20th of November, it's showing that's one of the coldest days at 32. And then we get out of that. There's the reason why I said 29, because that next cold snap comes in, it says 29. So we do have the up. Slowly going down this weekend into next week. We'll go up, not as high. There's 64 in the model there for Friday. And then it goes back down. 29 there for the 26. Right? That's Thanksgiving Eve.
Yep. And it really depends, too, on how much snow we start putting on the ground up north of us, too. Anytime you start getting a decent snowpack up in North Dakota, that jumpstarts things, too, which we've seen that many times in the past. And we're getting to the point now. You slide into this pattern going in ahead of Thanksgiving. To me, this is looking more and more like it's starting to bark a little more into the winter pattern. So I do think this is worth paying attention to, because even as you flip over to December, a lot of the modeling is even more aggressive on trying to build in some cold and snow. So I'm kind of seeing things kind of crowding around us now. We're dealing with a swarm of, systems, which are just that. They're not necessarily storms, but it gets us all kind of thinking, doesn't it, a little bit? So I think you mentioned during the show you're going to put up Christmas lights this weekend.
I have to get stuff done while I can. Yeah,
I'm with you. I kind of feel like I got to get kind of on the ball here because you can kind of see those time horizons beginning to shrink.
I took stuff down from the attic yesterday. It's all in the garage.
Okay.
I'll go home later today, try to sort things out, maybe even put the high stuff up or how much of the high stuff I can put up.
Yep.
And then I want to get, some of those lawn decorations into the ground. I try to stabilize them in the ground so the wind doesn't blow them around, end up in the neighbor's yard.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And then you need, the ground to be soft so you can get it in there too, right?
Right, which it is. After the little bit of snow that melted, it's kind of softened up the dirt a little bit too. So it should be perfect weather. And then you rake the leaves, get that job done.
I'm waiting for those to dry out a little more after all the melting snow on top of them.
Yeah, they were a little damp yet. But boy, yesterday we sure melted snow in a hurry.
We did as we made the 50s. Temperatures remaining above average. We'll talk more about our warm temperatures coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Sneak peek at your graphic, Brian.
Oh, starting with this one.
Well, you were showing me something here. Let's get off of that.
Well,
you were showing me something.
We'll tease that.
Okay. Said, hey, you wanted to show this? I'm like, sure. But I left that source up. Starting with my graphic system, warm temperatures, I added that question mark at the end. Boop. Okay. Will we stay warm? Well, we have warm numbers this week.
We
Cooling
will.
this weekend, above average. And then things they change. And things may dramatically change in December. That's your graphic.
That's how we'll end the show, right?
Okay. Here's our weather pattern as we go through this weekend. Temperatures remaining above average. Now, Monday's looking interesting to me. A lot of the data this morning suggesting that temperatures will cool. But, when you look at this for face value, that's well above average on Monday.
And it's the morning low.
That's probably
that's what's really feeding into this, because I think we've got at one point on Monday night, I think the dew point in Sioux Falls is almost 50. So if the overnight low ends up anywhere close to that, what's the normal high?
We're in the mid 40s, maybe the low 40s. We hit 40 on the 25th,
right?
And they goes down about a degree every other day.
Yeah. So you do the math on the average low there. See, we're so far above and beyond that. So, and also it's interesting too. There's not a lot of thunderstorms in the warm sector here. This system is probably not overly full of moisture initially, but I still think there's some debate going on that subject. So keep an eye on it.
Give it time. That's Monday next week on the 17th. So that runs through, and then it tries to cool us as we get into maybe the tail end of next week. And I just labeled this as having ups and downs as we do go through next week, probably starting above average, and then we'll see these numbers start to cool. We may waver back and forth as we go beyond that until we hit Thanksgiving week. Cold Thanksgiving, that's what this is trying to show. Below average temperatures, what you see in green and in blue, pushing a lot of that warm air to our east and to our southeast. And notice how it also generates some precipitation with that, too, in Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri. Well, it looks like this cold air comes in. It's hard to hold moisture in cold air, so it might end up pushing a lot of our precip chances to the south of us. We've seen that before, too.
It's a work in progress, so just depends on how all these battle lines shape up. But, you got probably something there, Scott, where you get those big thunderstorms on the warm sector. And
it is pointing to snow here. I know it comes back as blue, same color as below average temperatures. So we'll see if we can generate maybe some snow showers here as that cold air comes in.
Yeah,
all timing thing. We talked about that before.
Not exactly a quiet forecast. So that's kind of a preview there through Thanksgiving. This is looking out just because sometimes on this program we like to look at some data a little farther out. And you notice that as we get, this is a 7-day timestamp. So this is a compilation of 7-day blocks. So this, for example, runs right around Thanksgiving through December 4th. What do we see? Most of the country, at least the lower 48, no major intrusions of Arctic air yet, but the weight of what you just showed, Scott, is starting to filter in there.
Okay.
And that's where you see Western Canada. That's why you see British Columbia and Alberta turning from greens to purples and
Purple blobs.
You know what that is, by the way, if you really want to be technical about it, those are temperatures that are 30
It's at the
degrees.
end of the chart on the bottom left of the screen.
Uh-huh. Yep. You see that? I don't know. My eyesight's not that good. But
Well, I'm wearing glasses.
minus, 33 degrees below average.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the last of the colors there on the tail end of that scale. So that just fills it in with that same color. So probably even colder than that in some spots.
Yeah. Let's be honest. That's Siberian air just
Okay.
hovering there to the north. Now,
And that's,
when does the Arctic dam break loose? That's always a question we bring up over the years when we do forecast operational meteorology in December, because if that breaks, then you've got some big things going on. We can already see it, though. So let's keep an eye on it, because some years that'll hold back. It is not a guarantee that all of that comes loose. Maybe a little piece breaks off. There's always interesting conversations about that. But for today, I just wanted to show you something new.
End it there.
That sounds like a good, maybe that's not such a good place to end, but it is going to be our end today.
Gets people thinking. So that was December. That was going through that first week and a half of December, where it was showing that colder
Absolutely.
air trying to come through.
I imagine we're going to expand tomorrow, Scott,
Okay.
on the show.
Sounds good. I'll be here.
Good.
tomorrow.
That sounds like a good plan to me.
All right. Thank you for watching this latest edition of Whether or Not. Have yourself a great day.